Right, guys, it's a huge weekend for us as a pay-per-view provider. We've got two massive wrestling events coming up. We've got the NWA Starrcade and WWF Survivor Series on the same day. Our customers, they need to be happy. We need to make sure everything's in line, the technology's fine, we've all got the feeds set up, and this could be our best weekend ever as a pay-per-view provider. I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts they wanted to add to what I've just said. Yeah, actually, I did have something to say because, in Human Resources, we received a document from, Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWF. I'll just see if I can find it here. God, I'm shaking like a leaf. Oh yeah, here we go. It reads as follows.
If you guys dare put on the NWA Starrcade event, I swear I'm gonna cut all of my pay-per-views, including WrestleMania 4, for the rest of your schedules, for the rest of all time. There's no fury like Vince McMahon. Scorned.
Yeah, sorry to relay that message to you. I don't know what you want to do about that. What are your thoughts on that? Shit, Vince got us again. Hello, wrestling fans! That was ridiculous. And welcome to episode 7 of the WrestleReview series. I'm your host, Nathan Packham, as per usual, and I urge you, wherever you're listening from, to be sure to like, repost, and share if you're enjoying the content you're hearing. And you can send feedback, as always, to WrestleReviewFans@gmail.com. Don't forget, all other episodes are archived on the YouTube and SoundCloud page, so be sure to check out those as well. You can follow WrestleReview on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at facebook.com/WrestleReviewFans or follow at WrestleReviewPC on Twitter. This podcast is also now a member of the OSW Podcast Network on www.piledriverwrestling.net. Join the OSW community to discuss and follow the show, and there's loads of other great content on there that I myself have been really enjoying. And also to announce, if you are on our Facebook or Twitter pages, we now have a new logo and cover photo. It looks awesome, so please check it out, because I'm really happy with the finished product. Thank you to Visualize Creative from Norwich in England, where I live, for doing the logo for me. So, yeah, we might as well crack on then. This week's episode looks back at the first Survivor Series event from Thanksgiving Day in 1987, coming to you from the Richfield Coliseum in Ohio, where Vince McMahon's ruthless business tactics, an innovative new concept, and a really strong card produced yet another great success for the WWF. So, first of all, as per usual, we'll go straight into the background for the event. So, Vince McMahon added 3 new pay-per-views to his schedule after the success of WrestleMania 3, with Survivor Series kicking this new format off at the end of November 1987. The first Survivor Series was directly opposed to the Starrcade event put on by the NWA, and was equidistant to the last and next WrestleMania. Vince McMahon told pay-per-view providers, as you might have heard in the introduction, that they would not be allowed to show WrestleMania 4 or future WWF pay-per-views if they didn't show this event, and the ruthless stunning tactics worked excellently, and Starrcade's viewings tanked as they all decided to get rid of Starrcade and stick with the WWF, because of how massive, of course, the WWF was getting at this time. Starrcade would move to December in the future to prevent further clashes against the Driven McMahon, and pretty soon the NWA would become WCW when Jim Crockett sold the company to Ted Turner. More from him later on in the series, I'm sure. In the background to our first match on the card, which is they're all traditional Survivor Series matches. This is kind of a mid-card to almost main event Survivor Series match. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat asked for some time off to care for his pregnant girlfriend, and Butch Reed no-showed an event where Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was actually going to lose the Intercontinental title to him. Thus, the Honky Tonk Man took Butch Reed's place and became the Intercontinental Champion. Silly Butch Reed, how history can turn on a dime. In terms of Randy Macho Man Savage, he'd been heel since his debut in 1985, but he turned face in late 1987 and began feuding with Honky Tonk Man, who had proclaimed himself to be the greatest Intercontinental Champion ever. On an edition of Saturday night's main event, Honky Tonk Man pushed Elizabeth to the mat and smashed a guitar over Randy Macho Man Savage's head after the Honky Tonk Man was DQ'd. And obviously he didn't lose the title in the IC title belt because you can't lose the title through a disqualification. Hogan came out and saved Randy Savage from a further beating, and they reluctantly shook hands. This was the beginning of their Mega Powers partnership. Also more of that later on in the series. Jake the Snake Roberts had previously feuded with Honky Tonk Man after he injured him on an episode of the Snake Pit, and this was the point that Jake the Snake Roberts turned babyface. There was also another feud going on in this match, that being between Harley Race and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. They feuded basically because, like the JYD previously, Hacksaw Jim Duggan was annoyed that Harley Race had taken up the King moniker because America doesn't have a king, blah blah blah. In terms of the Women's Survivor Series match on this pay-per-view, recommended from the AWA by Jessie Ventura, Sensational Sherry won the belt on her first night in the WWF, defeating the Fabulous Moolah. Setting up this match between the dethroned stalwart champion Moolah, who seems to actually be a face in this match, which is kind of weird for a person who was heel for ages, and the new young champion Sensational Sherry. The third match on the card is a huge tag team Survivor Series match with way too many people in it, but we'll get to that. So the tag team match of this pay-per-view was built around the feud between the Strike Force and the Hart Foundation. Tito Santana and Rick Martel formed the Strike Force after Tito Santana rescued yet another face superstar when Rick Martel was being beaten up by the Islanders. They became number one contenders for the tag titles and won the tag titles after Jim the Anvil Neidhart submitted to Rick Martel's Boston Crab. And so the main event for this match pits Andre the Giant's team against Hulk Hogan's team. So some of the feuds going into the Survivor Series main event were as follows. Bobby Heenan was filed by Paul Orndorff on an episode of Primetime Wrestling because Bobby Heenan had hired ravishing Rick Rude as a replacement for him. Orndorff hired weird Willy Wonka lookalike Oliver Humperdinck as his manager. Billy Graham had been feuding with Butch Reed during one of their contests. The one-man gang got involved and splashed Billy Graham on the concrete floor. Don Morocco replaced him for this match as Billy Graham had decided to retire due to actual legitimate injuries. Ken Patera is in this match and was involved with a feud with Bobby Heenan and the Heenan family. Patera turned face and became the fourth member of Hulk Hogan's team. Many managers wanted the newly arrived Bam Bam Bigelow in the WWF, but he chose that weird Willy Wonka lookalike again, Oliver Humperdinck, despite the fact heel managers were desperate to gain his services. He also joined Hulk Hogan's team for this match. So that was your background, and now we of course get to the event itself. Survivor Series 1987, November 26th, 1987 to be precise, from the Richfield Coliseum in Ohio. So, our introductions for the event. We don't get a conventional introduction, at least on the network version, as we're straight to Howard Finkel, who introduces us to Jesse Ventura and Gorilla Monsoon. Ventura has an awesome pilgrim hat on and his usual snakeskin attire. Ventura is already looking to cause a stir when he says he will endeavour to have a good time despite being in Ohio, before Gorilla Monsoon presents the show as a sort of Thanksgiving dessert. Oh, very nice of you, Gorilla. We then get the conventional slap bass 80s introduction with the music overlaid with action from various WWF events, ending with the Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant stare down from WrestleMania 3. Before the bombastic orange/red Survivor Series sign graphic appears, and we go back to Monsoon and Ventura. They go through the matches tonight, focusing especially on the main event between Hogan and Andre's team, with Ventura reiterating the fact he feels that Andre was cheated out of the title after supposedly pinning Hogan for the 3 count at WrestleMania 3. They go through the rules of the matches, where a person will be eliminated through pinfall, submission, count-out, DQ, and at the referee's discretion due to injury, which Ventura and Monsoon try to suggest is the most important, despite the fact that it isn't even put to use during the whole event. We then go backstage to a crappy clone of Mean Gene, Craig DeGeorge. Craig DeGeorge is backstage with Honky Tonk Man's team as their interview is interspersed with shots of the Honky Tonk Man hitting Savage with his guitar, and also the Honky Tonk Man pushing Elizabeth over, all of which I previously mentioned. Honky rather scarily warns that he might perform the shake, rattle and roll on Elizabeth. There's a huge pop for the ring bell. The crowd is absolutely insane at this event, by the way. And we get the entrances of Harley Race, Hercules, who doesn't seem to be Hercules Hernandez anymore, Dangerous Danny Davis, and Outlaw Ron Bass. All of these guys come out to Race's music except the captain, Honky Tonk Man, who gets his own theme. And this is basically how all the entrances work for the rest of the event, with the captains getting special measures in terms of music. Backstage now to the actual Mean Gene, who's with Randy Savage's team. Ricky Steamboat is in the background of the shot doing ridiculously cliche karate stances. We get shots of Hacksaw Jim Duggan being hit by his own 2x4 from Harley Race, despite how positively he speaks about the match during the interview. Savage arrives and warns Honky Tonk Man that he's entered the danger zone because of how he pushed Elizabeth over. We get overdub music and a video-esque Howard Finkel generic announcement on the network as Ricky Steamboat, Jake the Snake Roberts, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan enter. By the way, Beefcake has the same trousers on from WrestleMania 3. They're just a little more cut this time, presumably from a Barber-related moment of madness or inspiration. Savage comes out to his own music like Honky Tonk Man. Ventura comments on how lovely Elizabeth looks, and he still seems to be a fan of the Macho Man despite his face turn. So we get to match 1, just a quick recap of all the participants. We've got King Harley Race, Hercules, Outlaw Ron Bass, Dangerous Danny Davis, and Team Captain and the Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man, versus Ricky Steamboat, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and Team Captain, the Macho Man, ooh yeah, Randy Savage. The captains decide who start, and they each choose Brutus, Beefcake, and Hercules respectively. Beefcake gets an early sleeper on Hercules, and the mad crowd in Richfield go crazy, even though it's that early on, and he's probably not going to get eliminated. Hercules manages to make a tag, leading to a series of hip tosses from Beefcake to the opposing team. Basically, anytime Danny Davis is involved, he gets destroyed like he did in his WrestleMania 3 match, with almost all of Savage's team getting in on the beatdown. Davis stops the team's momentum with a knee to Steamboat. There's a cool Skinning the Cat skit with Steamboat and Harley Race, as Steamboat skins the cat twice, then sends the considerably older, slower, and less athletic Race over the top rope. We get a double elimination, 1 for each team, when rivals Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Harley Race get into a punch-up on the outside, and both are counted out. Woohoo! Oh, thank God. Each team has to restrain their eliminated partner. So 4 plays 4 as we continue. Savage is continually distracted by the presence of the Honky Tonk Man, and he's nailed for his mistake by Ron Bass. We do get a great short battle between the feuding captains, but Ron Bass tags in again. Bass himself is the next to go. Randy Savage hits a backdrop reversal, sells his back, but still manages to get a tag to Beefcake. He drops down off an Irish whip, allowing Beefcake to hit a high knee and get the 3 count. That's Ron Bass gone, and 3 now plays 4. Ventura gets annoyed that Savage is climbing the ropes to encourage his team, and suggests the referee DQ him for his desperation/enthusiasm. Honky Tonk Man beats on Beefcake, who hits an atomic drop and a flurry of punches to try and escape the onslaught, but doesn't get the tag he needs. Dangerous Danny Davis knees Beefcake as he comes off the ropes, and Honky Tonk Man hits the shake, rattle and roll to eliminate the Barber. We're down to 3 on 3. Randy Savage continues to be obsessed with the Honky Tonk Man, and this costs him in the ring. Jake Roberts is tagged in, gets a huge reaction from the crowd who call for the DDT, a stark comparison to the lack of enthusiasm from the crowd during his earlier appearances. He seems to have really progressed in the 6 months from WrestleMania 3. Jake the Snake Roberts tries the DDT, but Honky Tonk Man escapes, with Ventura putting this down to the Brill cream in Honky Tonk Man's hair. Dangerous Danny Davis is very good at distracting the ref throughout, and I really like his heelish tactics despite his average wrestling ability. He's eliminated when Jake the Snake Roberts hits a short clothesline, which gets a crazy reaction from this mad crowd. And then the DDT, with the crowd going even crazier. 2 now plays 3 then. Savage once again tries to get to Honky Tonk Man as we get a nonchalant cover from the Honky Tonk Man who is dominating Jake the Snake Roberts. Honky Tonk Man locks in a very long chin lock on Roberts so everyone can get a breather. Roberts eventually breaks out of it, but Honky Tonk Man tags Hercules. Another chin lock is applied, and Roberts can't get the tag, but his arms don't go down for the 3 when the referee checks his consciousness. He finally gets a tag to Steamboat, who comes out crazy quick, as you'd expect. Steamboat hits a karate chop from the top, and then a body slam to set up an elbow for Randy Macho Man Savage, who hits his patented move from the top. Hercules is eliminated after the 3 count. 1, the Honky Tonk Man, plays 3. Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, and Jake Roberts. We finally get Randy Savage versus Honky Tonk Man for a decent amount of time, and the crowd goes nuts. Ricky Steamboat comes in and carries on the beating of Honky Tonk Man. Ventura fears Honky Tonk Man will be injured and have to give up his IC belt. Roberts does the same as the crowd call for the for the DDT. Roberts comes in, the crowd call for the DDT, but he opts to tag in Savage again. Ventura feels that Savage is torturing the Honky Tonk Man. Savage chokes him but isn't DQ'd. An atomic drop to Honky sends him to the outside, and he opts to have himself counted out to avoid further beating and heads for the back with his manager Jimmy Hart. This means Savage's team wins with him surviving along with Steamboat and Jake Roberts. Ventura reiterates his idea that Honky Tonk Man needed to leave to prevent injury and having to give up his IC belt. This match was just a great menagerie of 80s mid to main event card legends. It was also strong technically throughout. It was great booking to have Harley Race and Hacksaw Jim Duggan eliminated together early, so the pace wasn't dented too badly, despite that chin lock that went on for quite a while later on. This was really strong stuff and just about the right running time for a Survivor Series 5-on-5 epic match. It gets 4 out of 5 from me, does the opener. We go backstage and crappy Mean Gene clone Craig DeGeorge is with Andre the Giant's team. We get a recap of the controversial pinfall at WrestleMania 3, where it appeared Andre got a 3 count on Hogan right at the start of the match after falling on top of him after a failed body slam attempt. Andre says he will pin Hogan again as one of the manager's slicks adds that the group will be sadistic throughout. Bobby Heenan also butts in and calls Hogan a 300-pound turkey. Andre finally says that he's out for Hogan's soul, at least I think that's what he says, and he's going to be the last survivor in this one. Or a survivor. He wouldn't say last survivor because that would kind of dent the team around. We get a weird comment back with Gorilla Monsoon about copying the WWF product being illegal, possibly as a warning to those watching on pay-per-view at home that they cannot use the WWF product illegally. Match 2 then is our women's match for the evening. We've got the Glamour Girls, who are the WWF Women's Champion. Yes, this was a thing. It was a title taken from the NWA, and it unsurprisingly only lasted until 1989. We've also got Judy Martin, Leilani Kai, Dawn Marie, no, not the same one as early 2000s Dawn Marie, and Donna Christianello, quite a name, with a caped sensational Sherry, who's the women's champion, and they are facing Velvet McIntyre, Rockin' Robin, who is Jake Roberts' sister, the Jumping Bomb Angels, a tag team from Japan, and regarded as 2 of the most technically sound women's wrestlers ever, and the fabulous Moolah, who seems to be a face for once. Very strange to see Moolah as a face. The commentators can't believe that Moolah is announced at £165, and basically suggest the announcer is wrong. Ventura takes time, as a lot of commentators do now in women's match, to mention something completely irrelevant, this being the success of the film he stars in called The Running Man, and how much he loves Arnold Schwarzenegger. Sherry jumps the bell and begins a beatdown on Velvet McIntyre. Ventura makes the joke that the fabulous Moolah and Gorilla Monsoon were sweethearts back in 1936, with Monsoon saying he wasn't even born then. Ventura carries on dominating the commentary by saying, "You want to talk about women's liberation? These girls are liberated." We get a shoulder straddle from McIntyre into a victory roll pin, and she eliminates the rather dull Donna Christianello, so 4 plays 5. Ventura undoes his liberation comments by saying, "You don't need eyeshadow if both your eyes are closed," suggesting the women only care for their external appearance and undermining the strong wrestling throughout this match. We get a crossbody from Rockin' Robin on Dawn Marie, and she's also eliminated. 3 plays 5. The Jumping Bomb Angels begin to really show their skill, with a cool flying head scissors from one of them. I wasn't sure who was who in this match, like I often am with so many tag teams, especially the Rougeaus. We've got the Rougeaus later on, I just have no idea which one is which. The other Jumping Bomb Angels, who remain nameless throughout, as the commentators probably haven't done their research, and neither have I. She hits an arm drag from the top and a sweet double underhook suplex. Sherry then eliminates Rockin' Robin with the standard suplex as 3 plays 4, but the Bomb Angels continue to beat on the champion. McIntyre hits a crazy spinning crossbody on Judy Martin, which might be the best move of the whole event. Ventura suggests one of these girls should cut their hair to see if this helps with the hair pilling, which isn't as prevalent as you might expect in this superb women's match. It's a long time before the next elimination, and a slight lull in the action before Moolah is eliminated by a Dreamgirls clothesline. Once again, no idea which Dreamgirl was which. 3 plays 3. McIntyre turns a great crab into a grapevine, then into a surfboard on Judy Martin. But Judy Martin escapes to tag in Sensational Sherry, who hits a weird, botched and dangerous suplex on Velvet McIntyre. Leilani Kai then hits another sweet underhook, but the Jumping Bomb Angel, who is pinned, escapes by bridging up. This was awesome. This confuses the timekeeper, who thinks there is a 3 count and rings the bell until the referee says no. McIntyre does a great Cesaro-style swing on Sherry, and she eliminates the champ by dropping down off the shoulder again with a victory roll. So 2 plays 3, and the champ is gone. One of the Jumping Bomb Angels hits an awkward and prolonged strength-fueled underhook on one of the Glamour Girls before putting her in a body submission. McIntyre goes for another one of her victory rolls, but the momentum is reversed, and she is sprung back off the ropes by Leilani Kai and is eliminated. It's down to 2v2 with the number 1 contenders and the tag team champs left. We get some more great continuity and synchronization from the Jumping Bomb Angels, as one of the Glamour Girls, I'm just so confused which Glamour Girl was which at this point. Leilani Kai looks so much older than she did at WrestleMania 1, I think she wrestled at. So yeah, the Jumping Bomb Angels give a slingshot. One slingshot goes into the other, if you get what I mean. One of the Glamour Girls is on the ground, the other is slingshotted into her. The Jumping Bomb Angels oh, this time I've gone for their clothing, so I'm kind of getting there. The Jumping Bomb Angel with the hooped clothing hits a great crossbody from the top and eliminates Leilani Kai. So one of the Glamour Girls, that being Judy Martin, plays 2 of the Jumping Bomb Angels. The Angels perform a backdrop on Judy Martin, and then Jimmy Hart is drop-kicked off the apron. He takes this so well by one of the Jumping Bomb Angels. I think it was once again the hooped one, the one in hooped clothing. This gets a massive pop from the crowd. Martin is eventually eliminated after a top rope clothesline, and both of the Jumping Bomb Angels survive, making perfect booking sense for a future match between the tag champs and the number 1 contenders. I'd just like to say, not knowing who the Jumping Bomb Angels wasn't racist, because there are a lot of tag teams in this throughout the WWF in the 80s. It's hard to kind of distinguish because they're so in sync. It's hard to tell, who is who. As I've said with the Glamour Girls, Leilani Kai and Judy Martin, I had no idea who was who. I had to look up, Wikipedia to find out which one was eliminated when. This was another great technical showing, especially from the Jumping Bomb Angels, of course, and Velvet McIntyre on the Fabulous Mooners team. This is one of the strongest women's matches I've ever watched, and certainly equaled the opener for quality. So it gets another 4 out of 5 from me, despite not knowing several of the tag teams and who was who. But it was a great match. Craig DeGeorge is backstage now, and we've got the Hart Foundation's team this time for the 3rd match of the night. Bret Hart says that... Oh no, I don't think it's Bret Hart. I think it's Jimmy Hart says the team is so ready and will give the beating of their lives to their opponents. It's Bobby Heenan who says that they'll give the beating of their lives to their opponents. Jimmy Hart comes back mad and dishevelled from the last match and says someone will get hurt. Slick and the Bolsheviks, Boris Yukov has replaced the Iron Sheik after his cannabis/cocaine incident in a car with Hacksaw and Duggan. You should look that up if you don't know about it. So they've become the Bolsheviks now. They're already in the ring to sing the Russian national anthem. Libertarian patriot Ventura goes against his political leanings and stands up for this. Demolition acts as smash enter with Mr. Fuji. Then we've got the Dream Team, who no longer have Beefcake after his heels turn, so it's Greg Valentine and Dino Bravo for this match, but they're still accompanied by Luscious Johnny. And we've also got the Islanders, Haku and Tama with Bobby Heenan, before captains the Hart Foundation enter with their manager, Jimmy Hart. Backstage, and Mean Gene is unsurprisingly with all the faces. So the team is unsurprisingly fronted by face saviour Tito Santana and his partner Martel, who talks of unity for victory, something they believe the other team does not have. Ventura said the team is just too pretty to win. This team enters and they're as follows. The British Bulldogs, that's Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith with their dog Matilda. The Young Stallions are Paul Roma and Jim Powers. The Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond, who I still don't know who's who. The Killer Bees, and then the team captains the team captains Strike Force, of course, being Tito Santana and Rick Martel. Let me just run this down again because there's so many teams. Once again, run it down one more time as we go to match 3. So match 3, we've got the Bolsheviks, Demolition, the Dream Team, the Islanders, and the Hart Foundation versus the British Bulldogs, the Young Stallions, the Rougeaus, the Killer Bees, and tag team champs Strike Force. We're told that if you're eliminated, your whole team is. Thank goodness, because this match is going to go forever in the circumstances anyway. Ventura quips that maybe the teams will choose Matilda, the dog, to start the match, that being the face team. There are way too many people on the ring apron, as you'd expect, and you can't actually see the action during the wider shots. Ventura also thinks the ego of the tag teams will affect the match, and they'll only tag in their partners. Santana hits an early flying forearm to Boris Zhukov of the Bolsheviks and eliminates the team after the pin. So the Bolsheviks are gone and 4 teams play 5. There's a brief fight between Dynamite Kid and Haku, and this is awesome because they're both amazing athletes. They're quick and agile, but they're also incredibly strong, despite the fact Dynamite Kid is on the way out here because of serious injuries. The Rougeaus are the next to go as Jacques misses a crossbody on Axe, and 4 plays 4. Yeah, he literally missed a crossbody and was eliminated. Weird. There's a cool bit of collaboration between Neidhart and Haku, with Neidhart getting Jim Powers of the Young Stallions up for a sort of razor's edge kind of position move, and Haku delivering an elbow to Powers with Neidhart still holding him up. Bravo hits a technically sound gut-wrench suplex, that's Bravo of the Dream Team, and a leg drop on one of the Stallions. Once again, lost track of who was who in the Stallions a lot of the time in this tag team contest. Demolition are eliminated after Smash pushes the ref away, who's trying to reprimand Demolition for performing an illegal tag move. So now we've got 3 playing 4. Bret Hart's finally tagged in by his team, and the commentary team once again hype the fact he has improved, even since his appearance at WrestleMania 3. Ventura mispronounces Tama, calling him Toma, and then his racist side comes out with his statement, "It's Toma if I say it's Toma." I don't know why my Ventura voice is basically my Vince McMahon voice, but deal with it. They're both kind of, right-leaning Americans. Santana hits another flying forearm, this time on Jim Neidhart, but Bret Hart saves his partner, and then Neidhart somehow gets a 3-on-2 to Santana. So the tag champs, unsurprisingly, have been eliminated by the number 1 contenders, and Strikeforce are gone. 3 plays 3 as the crowd seems to lose interest a bit after the tag champs have gone. The commentators get bored of the action as Ventura mentions his pilgrim hat, and Monsoon renames him Jesse the Pilgrim Ventura. Ventura says he got the hat from a relative who was on the Mayflower, but Monsoon says it was probably from the props department. Right, that's great. Can we get back to the match? Yeah, we can. The Young Stallions simply refuse to be pinned after multiple attempts by the opposing team. Ventura suggests their rookie resilience will be broken by a submission maneuver. He suggests that submission would be better than pinfall for them because they're so exhausted. Hart hits a suplex on one of the Stallions where he jumps himself for extra impact, and Valentine hits an elbow off the top. But still Paul Roma of the Young Stallions kicks out. Dynamite Kid is tagged in along with Bret Hart, who takes one of his classic front-on hard Irish whips. That sounded very wrong then when I said it. The Young Stallions sell their pain really well, and they're barely able to hit one move when they are tagged in. Davey Boy Smith hits a press slam on Bret Hart, which is just technical perfection all round, from the elevation from Davey Boy to the way Bret Hart takes the move. Davey Boy Smith then hits the running power slam on Haku, but somehow doesn't get the 3. Dynamite Kid headbutts from the top, but obviously as Haku has a harder head because he's a foreigner. Jeez, WWF in the 80s. Dynamite Kid takes the brunt, and the British Bulldogs are eliminated when Haku hits a reverse thrust kick on Dynamite Kid for the 3 count. 3 teams play 2. Valentine goes for a classic figure 4, but the Stallions tag each other so that Roma comes in off the top rope, hitting a perfect yet dangerous and amazing sunset flip for the pin. Might be the best pinfall of the whole night. Along with Velvet McIntyre's various victory rolls. So yeah, he hits that sunset flip off the top, and the Dream Team are eliminated, so they're also gone, and we're down to 2 teams against 2. How are the Young Stallions still in this match after the punishment they've taken? I have no idea. Ventura still believes that the heel team will win because of the guidance needed to make the final push provided by their managers, but Monsoon believes the support of the crowd is more important. Roma faces a further beating and continues to kick out of any pin, with every offense by the Young Stallions now prefixed by desperation from Monsoon. A referee, so it's like desperation clothesline. A referee distraction from the Hill teams backfires as dropkicks by one of the Islanders, who was supposed to reverse a power move by Killer B so that Bret Hart would land on the B for the pin, is reversed itself, so the B gets the pin on Bret Hart. The Hart Foundation, the number 1 contenders, are gone now, and the Young Stallions are somehow still in the mix. The Islanders are the last heels left to face the Bs and the Stallions. 1 plays 2. The Islanders perform an extended beatdown on Brunzell, but he eventually tags in Powers, who seems to forget he's supposed to be exhausted, and comes out all guns blazing with a flurry of punches. But the Islanders quickly get back in control and continue to dominate despite the numbers disadvantage. Ventura puts this down to strength, stamina, and hard heads of the boys from the island. Oh, Jesse, I like you so much, but you are such a racist. The Islanders suffer a double noggin knocker, which Ventura says is doubly hard because of their hard foreign heads. The racism of the WWF in the 80s really does know no bounds. B. Brian Blair now with the mask on, the classic B mask I've talked about, I think, in the big event. I've lost my... Yeah, here we go. Beat Brian Blair now with a mask on, hits a sunset flip over the top after the match breaks down to get the win, as the ref, who, by the way, doesn't look in great shape throughout, he does slow counts, his shirt isn't even tucked in, he's got a lack of athleticism and really greasy hair. Oh, God, I didn't like that ref. He counts what is actually an illegal pin, because B. Brian Blair wasn't the legal man. Amazingly, not only did the Bees survive, but the destroyed Young Stallions do as well. Talk about a rookie push. This match was a little messy compared to the other two, with way too many men surrounding the ring, that even the camera angles almost didn't suffice to keep up with the action. But compared to today, it's clear to see the tag team division was in an insane position, with strong gimmicks, easily definable clothing, and strong technicality. If only the WWF cared so much about tag team wrestling today. Not up there with the opening two, but still a good watch. It gets 3.5 out of 5 stars from me. We skip to, there's a cut in the network, and we skip to Monsoon and Ventura. They discuss Ted DiBiase and some of the things he's been up to since he entered the WWF. And then we get an extended promo from Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. He's in his fancy car with loads of money, and he talks about how not poor he is. We see a series of tasks where $1 Million Man cheated people out of money, or was just generally being harsh, along with his assistant Virgil. A young fan can't do 10 push-ups, and despite admitting he tried his best, the $1 Million Man says his best isn't good enough. He also kicks the basketball away from a young fan who is one dribble away from getting $500. A sum which Ted DiBiase thinks the kid looks like he could really do with. Great. Back to Ted DiBiase at his residences, and he says that most people, like the ones you've just seen, cannot perform simple tasks. He also makes a woman bark on all fours, but still doesn't give her the money because Virgil says that she didn't put enough effort in. Now at the dinner table, DiBiase recounts how he forced a kid to kiss his feet to earn some cash. His Asian assistant / butler, oh dear, pours him some more water as he introduces a public pool skit. He bribes the owner to close the pool and make it private just for him, because and the owner says that there's too much chlorine and all the kids have to get out. Virgil tells the brats to leave, and they do, and then DiBiase, back in his car, says the kid should be thankful he didn't keep the pool for the whole summer. End of massively long, time-filling, but pretty good promo. Back to Monsoon and Ventura. They discuss the previous matches, and Ventura once again reiterates he feels the Honky Tonk Man made the right decision to save his body and the IC belt by getting counted out. Monsoon suggests it is a yellow streak which forced the Honky Tonk Man to leave. Ventura suggests... then we get an appreciation of the women's match and the Jumping Bomb Angels, like myself, with Ventura fearing for the Glamour Girls women's tag titles. Ventura is desperate to get out of Cleveland for Thanksgiving night. Monsoon thinks if he wears his pilgrim hat, it'll help him get out quicker. Ventura puts it back on, and it looks really, really stupid sitting on top of his headset. I think I should have made a meme of that. There's a strange agreement between face and heel commentator on the Killer Bee's illegality in getting the victory. We then move on to discussing the main event, as Andre the Giant hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania 3, but he does have 1 ton of humanity in his team to help him if needs be. Ventura fears for the ring with all the weight flying around. So we've got Craig DeGeorge again on a platform with the Honky Tonk Man and Jimmy Hart. This platform's just kind of in and around the arena. Honky Tonk Man says he was actually a survivor because he was not defeated because he didn't lose by pinfall or submission. He says he's willing to take anyone on for the Intercontinental belt, and he describes himself as the ultimate entertainment package. But then Monsoon says that no one can defeat you if you put your tail between your legs. Fair point, Gorilla. It's main event time, and Rick Rude, King Kong Bundy, who is described as the ultimate condominium, carrying on Bob Ueckers' hilarious comment from WrestleMania 3. Butch Reed, in virtually the same attire to Hulk Hogan, and the One Man Gang come out before Bobby Heenan introduces Andre the Giant. Heenan gets some heel heat by saying the crowd are loosely ladies and gentlemen. Andre the Giant comes out, and Ventura says Andre has had to live with his WrestleMania defeat for 6 to 8 months, despite the fact it's actually only been 6 months. I don't know why there had to be a time period there. Oh dear. We're backstage with Mean Gene and Hulk Hogan's team. Hogan is crazily pumped up, unsurprisingly, with his tasseled headband on, and he says his team can eat Andre alive as the natural food chain is irrelevant in the WWF. Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? You don't want wrestlers eating each other. Then Bam Bam Bigelow says it's time to burn the building down, even though it has no relevance to the food chain analogy that Hogan has started. Hogan's team is Bam Bam Bigelow with his forgettable manager Oliver Humperdinck, who, as I said, looks like a crappy and crazy Willy Wonka impersonator. We've got strongman competitor Ken Patera, who's described as a jailbird by Ventura, referring to the period before this match where he was sentenced to 2 years in prison for throwing a rock through a McDonald's restaurant and assaulting a police officer after he was refused out of hours service. What a story. The Rock Don Morocco is also in this match. He's no longer the magnificent Morocco. He's the replacement in this match for Billy Graham. Weird to hear The Rock talked about, but not The Rock that we would come to know and love. And Paul Orndorff, who Ventura feels still has some trust issues with Hogan. Remember, they had that rivalry. Big event, if you haven't seen it. Listen to the episode. Finkel introduces team captain Hogan, and the crowd goes bonkers. Hogan brings the American flag down to the ring with him. Ventura says, "I'm not going to try and talk over this, gorilla." Why did I do that in the most English accent ever? As the crowd fails to die down as Hogan makes his way to the ring. Joe Morella is the referee for this one, who supposedly referees all of Hogan's important matches and always gives the decisions always gives him the decision that would help Hogan, according to the rather paranoid Ventura. So the repeated rundown for your main event is as follows. We've got Rick Rude, King Kong Bundy, Butch Reed, the One Man Gang, and Captain Andre the Giant versus Bam Bam Bigelow, Ken Patera, Don Morocco, Paul Orndorff, and Captain Hulk Hogan. Morocco and Rick Rude start. Gorilla questions how Rick Rude is going to match the power with Don Morocco, but I myself thought that was actually possible, seeing as the Can-Am connection lifted Morocco up fairly easily at WrestleMania 3. Rick Rude is destroyed early on by virtually all of Hulk Hogan's team. Butch Reed is also taken to school by the face team as well. It's Butch Reed who injured Graham in the storyline, by the way, well, along with the one-man gang. So that's why Graham couldn't compete. Hogan hits a leg drop on his heel impersonator Butch Reed. Remember, they've got the same attire. Who gets no offense throughout the match. And that's the end of Butch Reed, who's been awful in the 2 appearances he's had so far on this podcast. So 4 plays 5, as it appears Hogan and Andre are going to battle. But Joey Morella says this isn't legal, saves Hogan again in Ventura's paranoid eyes when Hogan's high five in relation to eliminating Reed is seen as a tag to Patera. Patera, who is a strong man, is portrayed fights against everyone's least favourite milk bottle, King Kong Bundy. One Man Gang makes the whole ring shake when he's tagged in, and he's whipped into the corner by Paul Orndorff. Rick Rude is continually beaten down again on his re-entry to the ring. Poor Rick Rude, such a legend, but just jobbing fodder for this match. He thumbs the eye to escape the beatdown and tags in the One Man Gang. Paul Orndorff hits a crossbody on the One Man Gang, but doesn't get a 3 after he loses momentum from the move by slipping from his original pin, because the One Man Gang is so slippery and big and Patera is involved in a double clothesline, but the One Man Gang crushes him, and he is eliminated. Bye-bye jailbird Patera. Back to equilibrium as 4 face 4. Bam Bam Bigelow and One Man Gang have a head-on collision, which almost causes an earthquake in the arena. Rick Rude is beaten down hard by Paul Orndorff, but King Kong Bundy prevents the Paul Orndorff pile driver with Rick Rude rolling up Paul Orndorff for his elimination. The faces are down 1. It's 4 versus 3. Rick Rude poses too long after his brief success, and the massacre directed at him continues. Hogan Irish whips Rude after a tag. He drops down so that Don Morocco can deliver his power slam and eliminate the absolutely hapless Rude. There are better things to come from the ravishing one, but right now he's gone, and three faces go against 3 heels. It's basically all the big men left last, and so the ring collapse is really possible then. Sorry, I'm just going to have a drink because I'm really losing my voice here.
Vincent Kennedy.
McMahon, that was nice. I've just basically undone all the good work of having a drink. It's basically all the big men in the ring. Let's hope the ring doesn't collapse. Andre the Giant performs an illegal headbutt on the apron to Don Morocco, and this is followed by a splash. I think it's called the 747 or splash from the One Man Gang, who's actually the legal participant who eliminates Morocco. The heels are up 3-2. Ventura thinks that Hogan's life is in danger against the big guys if Bam Bam Bigelow is eliminated. He thinks that that Hogan will run away like Honky Tonk Man did if it's 3-1, and that saving Hogan till the last was part of Bobby Heenan's master plan. I wouldn't be surprised. Heenan's awesome. Bam Bam Bigelow is beaten down for ages in preparation for a hot tag. Ventura makes a hilarious comment that King Kong Bundy could be the brother of Bam Bam Bigelow if only he got more tattoos. Bam Bam Bigelow ducks Andre the Giant's punch with the first of many barrel rolls that he does and tags in Hogan. It's Hogan v Andre and the crowd goes mental. We get a crazy exchange of chops from both of them as a fired up Hogan also takes down Bundy and One Man Gang in the corner. Bundy distracts Hogan as he's about to come off the ropes. Hogan has to drop down to deal with him. He punches Bundy away and slams the One Man Gang on the mats on the outside it was on the entranceway. Bundy prevents him from entering the ring. Hogan slams him for good measure, but it's too late. And in a massive twist of the story, WWF champion Hulk Hogan is eliminated by countout, leaving Bam Bam Bigelow as the one man for the face team against the three giant heels. Finkel announces that Hogan, who is considerably stealing all the heat by staying in the ring, will forfeit the match, yes, for his whole team if he refuses to leave. Go away, Hogan. Finally, we get to have a main event now without Hogan included. Bam Bam Bigelow fights valiantly against King Kong Bundy. Bundy misses an avalanche in the corner and a great springboard splash from the hefty Bigelow, who's known for his strange athleticism. He manages to eliminate King Kong Bundy with this springboard splash after he pinned him. So he's reduced the deficit to 2 heels against 1 face. One Man Gang misses an awfully executed splash on the top where he effectively lands on his knees and his feet and is eliminated by Bam Bam Bigelow, even after Andre the Giant hits Bigelow with a big boot illegally from the outside.
So it's come down to this. Bam Bam Bigelow versus Andre the Giant, 1-on-1.
Surely an exhausted Bigelow can't beat Andre the Giant, can he? Bigelow misses a running move on Andre the Giant, and the dream dies when Andre hits a botched underhook suplex sort of thing on Bigelow to win and become the first sole survivor in WWF history. Hogan races to the ring to steal some more heat. Oh, bloody Hogan. And nails Andre with his WWF title belt twice as Andre runs away. Ventura says it's disgraceful how the defeated Hogan has come to the ring, and I agree. This is such a crappy Hogan ego-boosting move. He adds that Hogan is a despicable champion and once again threatens to come out of retirement to defeat Hogan. This was another really strong match with a plethora of icons once again illuminating the ring action. It was only let down in relation to the other matches by a lack of technical performers, especially near the end with the exception of Bam Bam Bigelow, who was the standout performer in this match for me. This once again gets a fairly strong rating of 3.5 out of 5 stars from me. And have another swig of water because I'm losing my voice again. Yay! Oh, that's good. We're backstage with Mean Gene. He says he's not sure he's ever seen anything quite so hot. Heenan is backstage with Andre, and Heenan says that Hogan can have Andre anytime he likes if he just signs a contract. And he says that Hogan was eaten up by the fact Andre was the sole survivor. I agree. Andre says something about being the smartest and being the sole survivor in his incoherent deep voice in a speech which has no relation to the contract comments already made by Heenan. Before Heenan ends the interview emphatically by saying, "Nobody can beat him." That's how he ends the interview. Sorry. Ventura believes Andre is the number 1 contender again after he was the sole survivor. So we sign off now with Ventura and Monsoon. Goodbye for the evening. With Ventura saying he's delighted to be leaving Cleveland, Ohio, as Monsoon does the formal goodbyes. Hogan's music plays, as we get the usual photo highlights. So time for a little conclusion as per usual. This event matched up to the excellent WrestleMania 3 pay-per-view earlier on in the year for me, with 4 decent to really strong Survivor Series matches. These could have done with being a little bit shorter and maybe with a singles match somewhere on the card to break them up and increase the match count. The first 2 matches were easily the best of the night for me, with the impressive women's match probably just shading it over the mid-carders opener, or pushing main event opener for me. Speaking of the women's match, my MVPs for the evening have to be the Jumping Bomb Angels, who proved themselves to be technically head and shoulders above the rest of the women's division, and will probably easily be the best women's wrestlers in the WWE nowadays, maybe bar some of the emerging divas we've seen in NXT. The other 2 contests on the card were also enjoyable, but the tag match had way too many contestants, and the main event lacked the technicality of the previous matches, not helped by the crappy, botched undercooked suplex finish from Andre. The worst performer of the night for me goes to Harley Race, who had virtually no impact on the opening match and looked severely out of place and aging when placed against the like of Savage and Steamboat. Thank goodness he and Duggan were eliminated early on by that double countout. This show was just as great, if not better, than WrestleMania 3, with way less filler than that third annual Entertainment Spectacular. Like WrestleMania 3, it gets an 8 out of 10 from me for its fast-paced action, strong technical showings, and a women's match that blew me away. Right, we'll get to a little bit of aftermath now before I sign off. So Survivor Series drew a crowd of 21,300 fans to the Richfield Coliseum and approximately around 300,000 to 325,000 pay-per-view buys, depending on which source you go with. So Randy Macho Man Savage would unsuccessfully continue to feud with the Honky Tonk Man after the event, but was destined for much greater achievements, as we'll hear later on in the podcast. Honky Tonk Man would hold the title for 454 consecutive days, but you'll have to keep listening to the WrestleReview or do some research on the internet to find out how he lost it and who to. Dangerous Danny Davis' referee gimmick slowly petered out through 1988, and he returned to being a referee, I think, in 1989. In the tag team division, Strikeforce continued to hold the title despite competition from the Hart Foundation. They then began to feud with Demolition as 1987 came to a close. The Dream Team broke up shortly after this match, as like many new gimmicks, the New Brood, was it the New Brood? I'm not sure, but yeah, the new Dream Team didn't last long in the WWF. As the original, the successor of the original, once Brutus Beefcake had left and turned face. Unfortunately, I didn't find any aftermath information for that excellent women's match, so sorry about that. We'll talk about the main event though. Hogan and Andre had an exchange of words over the WWF title, and the main challenger to the title, other than Andre, which was the $1 Million Man, offered Hogan a cash prize for the title, which Hogan unsurprisingly virulently refused. Andre attacked Hogan on an edition on Saturday night's main event, choking him until he was virtually unconscious. $1 Million Man announced his alignment with Andre so that they could work together to try and dethrone Hogan. Hogan and Andre would take part in a contract signing at the Royal Rumble event I will be reviewing next. This was Paul Orndorff's last appearance on TV as he went into semi-retirement because he needed surgery on his arms, and he actually ended up waiting ages due to the success he'd had working with Hogan. He actually ended up waiting too long and got really bad nerve damage. It's terrible. Pretty good wrestler. He returned briefly to feud with the Heenan family, but he couldn't sustain his career with the problems he was having. This was also King Kong Buddy's last pay-per-view appearance, I think, until 1994, where he came back to join the $1 Million Man and his $1 Million Corporation, and wrestled The Undertaker at WrestleMania, I believe, 11. So, yeah, the outro now for today's episode. That's a wrap for today, guys. Thanks for listening into this edition of the WrestleReview podcast, looking back at the first Survivor Series event, where Vince's ruthlessness scored another huge win for the WWF. Like and subscribe if you're tuning in from YouTube, repost and share on SoundCloud, and please send your feedback to the still fairly dormant email address, WrestleReviewFans@gmail.com. Don't forget to listen in to the other awesome shows on the Piledriver and OSW podcast network as well. And also join our community page, please do. Next time, we'll be looking at another first in the WWF, the first Royal Rumble from 1988, which contains the aforementioned contract signing for a rematch of the WWF title between Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan. Hear what happens next time on the WrestleReview. So long, wrestling fans. Bye-bye.